The Klan can be looked at a number of different ways. They are a sad vestige of our past. Sadly, there are some that hold on to this nonsense, and I don't know what to say about them except that they're largely ignorant and inferior people. I do not know the nature of this motivation in Colombia, but what I would suggest is this. When we start talking about locking people up for doing things that we don't like, there needs to be a direct harm, or at least a threat to harm, to other people. And I suppose, as some on the super text line have done, you could make the case that this flyer where it says be warned, that that's something vague, or, the Klan is back and here to stay, so you'd better make amends or stay away. Maybe that stay away is something that you can cling to. But I would argue it's a weak case. The best example of what we can do as a society is to laugh and wag our fingers and suggest that these people need to get a life. Now, I'm told by a retired Columbia police officer, it says, while I do not know the current plan, however, this would be littering if they don't have a permit. So for each count, they can be charged with littering, and the monetary fine can be up to $500 per each charge. Well, y'all better get down to Broadway. Work on some of the little pamphlets that they lay in my hand on Broadway, because there's a lot of littering going on. It's 12:53 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief is located in Franklin. I've talked about them for quite some time. Why? Because I love what they do. I got a chance to meet Dr. Gill very soon after I came to Nashville, Tennessee in December of 2021. I sought him out because I had heard so much about him on this radio station, Super Talk, because I knew that he knew what he was doing, because I knew that he had been around for some time, that he had assembled a team of chiropractors, doctors all, that understand his process and have trained personally with the Dr. Gill Center to make sure that they can alleviate your pain the best of their abilities without the need for needles or pills, and goodness, no surgery. No surgery. You don't want to consider surgery until it's a last resort. And they're going to take every effort to make sure they can alleviate that pain through spinal decompression, red light therapy, and so many other methods. Go to the Dr. Gill Center. If you're in pain, if anything that moves or supposed to move on your body hurts when it happens, your elbows, your knees, your other joints, or certainly your back, it's time to call Dr. Gill. Don't take a pill. Call the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. The telephone number is 615-882-4838, 882-4838 for the Dr. Gill Center.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. FBI Director Christopher Wray facing criticism from both sides of the aisle over his agency's handling of investigations and surveillance and claims that the FBI has politicized some cases.
In opening statements, Republican Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, chair of the House Judiciary Committee, ticked off a list of GOP grievances against the Department of Justice and the FBI.
American speech is censored, parents are called terrorists, Catholics are called radicals, and I haven't even talked about the spying that took place of a presidential campaign or the raiding of a former president's home.
Democrat Jerry Nadler defending the agency.
This hearing is little more than performance art. It is an elaborate show designed with only two purposes in mind: to protect Donald Trump from the consequences of his actions and to return him to the White House in the next election.
Faith Abube, ABC News, Washington.
In Lithuania, NATO members wrapping up their two-day summit with Ukraine, the main focus. President Biden delivered remarks at Vilnius University and praised the Lithuanian people for their push for liberty and democracy after breaking with the Soviet Union in the 1990s. He says that fight continues.
The defense of freedom is not the work of a day or a year. It's the calling of our lifetime, of all time. We are steeled for the struggle ahead. Our unity will not falter, I promise you.
NATO pledged long-term support to make Ukraine a member of NATO once the war ends with Russia. In Iowa, state Republican lawmakers passed a bill last night to ban most abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy or when a heartbeat is detected. That vote mostly along party lines and followed a heated debate during the special session called by GOP Governor Kim Reynolds. She plans to sign the bill into law on Friday. In Vermont, floodwaters starting to recede after torrential rain. The governor says crews are still carrying out water rescues in some areas where raging floodwaters cut off residents. You're listening to ABC News.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-330-1991.
Yes, we are staying in the 90s, and that's hot. And with that heat comes the use of your air conditioner. If you're conditioning that air in your home and it's not getting to the point that you want it to be at, then you need to call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. They're the only ones that I would recommend. I trust them in my home. You can trust them in your home. Jeff and his team of qualified and trained technical experts will come out, diagnose your situation. And here's the thing I love. That one of the first things Jeff told me when we sat down was, Murphy, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be known as the honest HVAC man. In other words, if I can get you another year, I'll get you another year. If it's a simple fix, it's a simple fix. And if I tell you the time has come for you to replace that unit, you know the time has come to replace that unit. It's as simple as that. Jeff Eddy, time and time again, proves that he is the honest HVAC man. And I want you to call Efficient Heating and Cooling when it's time to replace or when you have questions about where you are in that process. Efficient Heating and Cooling. Give them a call today. You can go online at efficienthvac.net. That's efficienthvac.net. Or call 615-784-4424. 615-784-4424 for Efficient. Hour number 2 starts right now, 1:06, and a good afternoon. Matt Murphy with you. Thank you for being with us on this Wednesday edition, July 12. Joe Biden had a little speech over at the NATO summit. It's a game changer of a NATO summit, boy. It is a big deal over there. It is high stakes, as reported by CNN. High stakes, as reported by ABC. High stakes, as reported by CBS, MSNBC, CNBC, The Washington Post, The New York Times, The Boston Herald. Have I gotten all of the good ones in?
Mr.
Hashtag never seen it.
over here.
What is so high stakes about this? I mean, I don't. Everyone's calling it high stakes summit. What? Like, what are we doing? $50 blinds here?
If they don't come to an agreement on the entire situation, it's pretty much understood that Dr. Evil will escape the mountain.
World go boom?
Yeah.
I like that.
For billions.
That's the voice of Bell K behind the glass. He's screening your telephone call, 615-737-9986. Talking about this Klan flyer, too, and or supposed Klan flyer. And one would expect, given the video surveillance that is out there, given the fact that they got the guy's license plate, they got the guy's car, make and model, one would anticipate that they'll be in jail at some point. But what are they charging them with is my question. The authorities say, we will prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. And I really don't know what that is. Joining me to talk about all of these things is Cameron Smith, who it's my understanding was just on the radio for 3 hours.
I was indeed.
Hello,
but
Cameron.
I heard that you were making an unpopular defense, and I needed to come and engage. But it seems like you got it covered, man.
I just don't. I don't exactly understand what we're charging these people with who are littering in Maria. I mean, maybe you can charge them with littering. Maybe there are ordinances on the books.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Broadway, and if we're going to play that game. I mean, here's the deal. I will defend law enforcement when law enforcement is correct. But in situations where there's a lot of emotional outrage, we should check ourselves and say, hey, we don't like this. This isn't good. Does someone need to be arrested and go to jail for being an idiot who put flyers out? It's not to defend the content on the flyers. It's not to defend the Klan. It's simply, as you've already stated, we need to be careful about government authority here. That heavy hand of government, conservatives should be like, we should probably not use this weapon of government.
You know, because here's the deal. They don't mention the race of anybody. They mention race traitors. But on the flyer, I mean, I almost hesitate getting into the meat of the flyer, but they don't mention like black people, African-American people. They mention homosexuals. They mention mixed breeds, whatever that means, and communists. There's a connective tissue between this and organizations demanding of government that they shut down certain churches that preach the homosexuality is a sin. I could make that connection.
Yeah.
Right? So it goes back to kind of be careful what you wish for. Now, no one is saying that these people aren't idiots or disgusting or racist or whatever.
Well, the answer to stupid speech is not stupid speech. It's
right.
What we're doing to be, these guys are stupid. Don't listen to them. Now, hey, if they specifically threaten somebody,
it's a different ballgame.
Or they cross the line into more than speech, like, sure, arrest them, prosecute them. But
no, I could live in a world where you and I would argue, I could see where there's an argument that would state, hey, on the flyer it says in big letters, be warned. And that's going to create a fearful dynamic amongst the church members of these largely African-American churches. I can understand that argument, but I don't know that it's enough to make a terroristic threat charge stick. And I'm just trying to be realistic about this and what comes next. Speech is only good if we're willing to defend that speech, which we hate.
Yeah.
Free speech. Anyway, hopefully Scott Sapicki, I think Representative Sapicki is going to weigh in on this. Obviously, he is a representative of Murray County and talk to us about what he is proposing potentially we can do about these flyers that are causing a dust up. Now, understand something, and I get it, and I'm fully aware of it when I brought the subject up, and I think you would agree with this, Cameron. Whomever these people are, we're in a way giving them what they want.
Yeah.
Because often it is the case that things like this pop up from time to time, and it's all about attention. And I would predict to you, and I've seen the still shot of the individual posting the flyer on the food truck. I would predict to you that it is a 20-something-year-old white male that thinks all of this is really, really funny.
Mm-hmm.
And that person needs some sort of lesson, but I don't know that that lesson is necessarily jail time.
Right. And I have males in my home whose brains are not fully developed, and I can tell you that some young men have absolutely dumb ideas. Jail time is the ultimate big government solution. If you want to put somebody in jail, I don't care who it is, you better make sure that you are willing to restrict their freedoms because they are a threat to themselves or others, right? I mean, you're doing something that if you tell me you love liberty and then tell me why jail is the answer every time, I don't believe that you love liberty. I believe that you think that government is there to be your weapon. And that is the hardest thing for conservatives to hold fast to is we don't like things liberals do. And the liberals are perfectly fine using big government to get what they want and punish their enemies. And there's a temptation to give into that and say, well, we're going to do it in a different direction. Don't. That's not conservative. It's just liberal in a different direction.
Certainly not small government.
Right.
615-737-9986, our telephone number if you want to weigh in on this subject or any other matters. I'm going to ask Cameron Smith if he believes, I do not, and we were talking a little bit about this off air. I have for the last 4 months stated my belief that Joe Biden cannot possibly make it to the election of 2024. I think that Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has that own assessment in his mind, too. And I believe that Gavin Newsom is running a shadow presidential campaign until such time as Joe Biden steps aside because he understands how weak Kamala Harris is. I want to ask you about that in a moment. But first, it's Kevin's turn in Davidson County. Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Very good. How are you, Matt?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for calling in. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm glad that I actually caught you and Cameron together. You guys are the only reason I tune in to listen to. You guys are great. I love you.
Well, you're very sweet. That's kind of you to say. I hope you tune into some of the other shows, though. I love those guys.
Yeah, we got a new Chris.
We got a new Chris?
Let me tell you, as a native Tennessean who lived in Davidson County for 26 years and has moved to Wayne County, Tennessee, absolutely love it. These do not reflect, the KKK stuff does not reflect Tennessee values. It does not reflect who we are. As far as charging them, look, I lost my uncle in Vietnam. He didn't make it back. And if he was here, according to my dad, he would tell you that he fought for the speech that you liked and for the speech that you didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that more Tennesseans probably value that. Then we've lost a lot as far as an American goes. Patriotism runs deep in my family. We fought in every war since the Civil War on both sides. So I don't think that the KKK and all this, I hope they catch them. You're probably right. It's probably a 20-year-old who is trying to kind of cling to the past of
just being an idiot. I mean, yeah. I mean, minds that are not fully developed do really, really stupid things, and sometimes those things sadly manifest themselves in racist ways.
Yep.
And I agree with that, but I stand firm. I'm a veteran. My daughter's serving now. We learned in the military long after we learned in kindergarten tolerance. But when you're in trouble, you don't care what color hand reaches out to help you. You don't.
Or what color paw.
Mm-hmm.
Or I've got a German Shepherd. I had guys stealing my tools, so I've got a German Shepherd that rides around. I've not lost one tool in 5 years.
That's great.
But yeah, I just wanted to reflect back that this is not Tennessee values. This is not.
No, it's
this
not.
is not Christian values. This is not what we were raised in. And when they catch the 20-year-old, at the same time, you protect the freedom of your speech, but also of the speech of the people that you don't necessarily agree with. As long as your rights don't trample on mine, then we're on equal footing. And in Tennessee, like I said, I've got family in East Tennessee. We even claim Memphis. I mean, Tennesseans don't believe in that, and I hope that when they catch the person that this is a quagmire, because at the same time you protect the freedom of the people you don't like.
Here's what I would do. Here's if we have the capacity. And by the way, before I let you go, Kevin, what's that German Shepherd's name?
Kaiser.
Like that. Well, he's German, so that's a nice German name, I suppose.
Well, and he as a vet, he's given me more comfort than. All right, I see him.
I hear you. Get him, Kaiser. They're coming after the tools, Kaiser. Get him.
Well, if anybody gets within 3 feet of the truck, he lights up, and he's been my best friend as a veteran. He'll get in the shower with me every morning. I mean, he goes everywhere I go.
Wait a minute.
Pause.
Wait, hold on a second. This conversation was going so well.
What the hell is that?
And then you said that Kaiser gets in the shower with you?
I said he would. He would.
Me.
Oh, okay.
He follows me everywhere. He is my complete shadow.
That's awesome. Send me Kevin, if you can, send me a photo of Kaiser. I'd love to see him.
I absolutely will. He's been a savior to me. He's my best friend.
That's cool. That's what he's supposed to be. Well, pet him on the head. Give him a treat for us, okay?
10-4. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
His next German Shepherd will be named the Führer.
That's a different. Don't do that. Don't do that to him. Kaiser's acceptable. Years ago, he mentioned. I thought he said Kaiser gets in the shower with him. He said he would.
Yeah, me too.
Years ago, I told people how I washed my dog, and I got holy hell for it.
You wash him in the shower?
In the shower.
Me too.
I get in the shower, get naked, get in the shower, get the dog in the shower.
You're not like rubbing your butt on your dog.
And the dog, I mean, it's not creepy. The dog doesn't give a rip.
No.
The dog doesn't care if you're naked. The only dangerous aspect of this is if you haven't clipped your dog's nails, and you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But other than that, the amount of people that thought that was skeevy was incredible. Like, what do
you think you can do?
What? I mean, it seemed the easiest manner. You wash the dog, you stop the shower briefly, you get a towel, kind of rub him off a little bit, let him back in the bathroom, then you finish your shower. You finish your shower, and then you take care of the rest of the drying process.
And then you wash out your shower because it's full of hair. It's gross.
Oh, my Lord. You telling me. I've got a 12-and-a-half-year-old that has decided he doesn't want his hair anymore. And it is everywhere, man. Oh, it's just awful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad that the caller's keeping his tools now. That seemed good.
That's pretty cool. I had one, my old dog, a Hody, it was embarrassing. Like, he was the nicest dog on the face of the earth outside of the car. But when he got into the car, he became just a little totalitarian. I mean, anybody that comes near the car, I mean, it was just embarrassing. It's like, I'm so sorry. And he's got his fangs out.
I just hate it that the caller and other folks feel like we got to defend that Tennessee is not a racist place.
Because some schmuck in Columbia is handed out a couple of flyers.
There's some idiots in Columbia and other places.
Now,
okay.
If you want to punish this guy, because, I mean, I'm looking at almost every story online about this includes the same line. Columbia police said the person or people responsible will face charges when they're caught. And my question is, what charges?
Mm-hmm.
Are you planning on charging this person? Now, if it's littering, if they can get them under a littering statute, the perfect punishment is not to put them in jail. The perfect punishment
Pick up trash.
Is to pick up trash at the churches. I think you should have this person go and, as a servant of the church, clean up the litter in and around the church property, or do some maintenance on church property, and have some conversations with some of the elders of the church.
But that's a balanced punishment for a potential crime, right?
The prescribed penalty, though, is a $500 fine per violation.
For littering?
Yes.
That was our ex-police officer, right, over in Columbia?
Yeah.
But the idea that a flyer on a car is littering, it's not discarding
if I'm an attorney, I would argue that I'm within my legal boundary to promote. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you promote? I mean, you're
engaged in the dissemination of ideas. How do you not consider that speech?
Right.
Yeah, littering is when you toss something aside, you discard something. The idea that I am placing this so that you see it.
I mean, right. I mean, you're disseminating. I mean, like you say, Bill, you are selling an idea. Now, we all agree, a disgusting idea, but you're selling an idea similar to the way that the roofing guy that leaves the little flyer in my driveway is selling roofing services.
Or the way a church group would leave tracts.
A flyer. Underneath the windshield wiper of your car in a parking lot. 122 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I tell you what, we do have a lot of in and around Middle Tennessee, and we have a lot of singers and a lot of good ones. The wife and I were in Leaper's Fork recently with a lot of family members listening to some of those singers out there at the Fox and Locks. I mean, there's a lot of great singers around here. And I want to ask you, if you think you've got what it takes, have you signed up to the Strength of America Song Project yet? Stokes Nielsen, it was such an honor to meet Stokes. He's a great songwriter in town. And he wrote a song focusing on the Military Women's Memorial as a part of Women Veterans Recognition Day and the 75th anniversary of the Women's Armed Services Integration Act. And with that in mind, he wrote this song and performed it earlier in the summer at the Women's Military Memorial in Arlington National Cemetery. And now he's looking for the next Tennessee great that would sing this song as a part of the recorded version. And you have time to enter your voice and your name into this project. For more information on the Strength of America Song Project, I want you to email Stokes himself at strengthofamericasong@gmail.com. That's strengthofamericasong@gmail.com. Any and all may apply. Email that website there, or email that email address there, and Stokes will be back to you with more information on how you could be the artist to record this song. It's the Strength of America Song Project. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 126, almost 127. We are endeavoring to find out what exactly the Columbia Police Department or the Murray County Sheriff's officials have planned for this perpetrator who is bound to be caught eventually. He will be brought in. He will be questioned. He will be harangued and charged with something or another, according to the Columbia Police, as disturbing, disgusting, gross, stupid, silly as what this individual did. I'm trying to work out in my mind exactly what you would charge him with, and a lot of you are settling on littering. To wit, 1640 says, sorry, you have to have a permit to hand out flyers, because if not, there would be thousands on public and private property that could cause a public safety or health issue. Check the law. By TCA, you can be charged for flicking a cigarette butt, and just not done because you would be writing tickets all day. When people place flyers in mass quantities without a permit, they are frequently charged. Big difference between taking or talking on a street corner and putting actual material out in public. And this person, 1640, seems to know what he's talking about. And so I've asked him for that code, because I would be very curious to read the language of that code.
Well, I'm looking at 39. This is Tennessee Code Annotated 39-17-308 on harassment. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it says in relevant part, a person commits an offense who intentionally threatens by telephone and writing or by electronic communication, blah, 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 to take action known to be unlawful against any person, and by this action unknowingly annoys or alarms the recipient. I think that's a stretch to use something like that. And I get the littering thing maybe, but in terms of these higher level offenses, I mean, the truth is saying be warned is way different than I'm going to burn your church down or I'm going to hurt you. It's...
Yeah, and I'll read. And once again, no one's defending the flyer. I mean, we all think this is stupid and disgusting. But the flyer says, Invisible Empire, Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, the Old Glory. It's got some stupid symbol on it. It says heritage, not hate. I'll reiterate, the Klan's about hate. It's not about heritage. The Klan's never really been, well, not in modern times. In my lifetime, it's that the Klan's never been about heritage. And then you have been paid another social visit by the Old Glory Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. We have a dark history here, and because of you, a bright future. Be warned. Race traitors, mixed breed, communist, homosexuals, and all other walks of godless degeneracy. The Klan is back again and here to stay, so you better make amends or stay away. With 3 exclamation points. So there's that. I don't know of anybody that has, I don't think this is creating a fear.
No.
In Columbia.
No.
I would be, I mean, it makes for a good 5-minute segment on local television news, but beyond that, I don't know exactly what you do. Joe is in South Nashville. Joe, good afternoon.
Yeah. So I'm not a historian or anything like that, but I'm old enough to remember.
Hey, Joe. Joe, before we get started, do me a favor. You need to turn that radio down, Joe. As much for you and for the audience. It'll confuse everybody if we don't, because you'll hear yourself on a slight delay, and oftentimes that can get confusing. Just let me know when you got that radio turned down, and we'll continue.
Well, I'm just going to go in another room.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Go in another room so that it'll confuse the audience.
Yeah, actually, I'm going towards another radio, which I can get to a little easier than that other one.
How many radios do you have on? We
love
it.
All of them, man. Joe has all of them on. All of them.
Hold on.
How many radios do you have on?
I mean, there's you asking the question. You see how you sound? That's awful.
Sounds wonderful.
Sound very
melodious.
Sounded accusatory, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Joe. Thank you, man. I appreciate you doing that for me. Now, what were you saying?
I was saying that there were some lynchings and so forth in the early part of the in the 1900s. So that might be somebody picking up on that and trying to fire that up a little bit or something.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, I'll say this, and I said it at the beginning of the show. I'm well aware of the history of the Klan. And there was a time where the Klan was a homegrown terrorist organization in the South. And they committed terroristic acts against American people.
I was born in the South. I've lived here all my life, so you don't need to.
So, I'm aware of that. But, times have changed to the point, and for the better, that the Klan is dismissed as kind of a clown show now. So I agree with you that a lot of the reaction to this is probably based in the distant past and some of the things the Klan was responsible for back then.
Are you've been to Nashville, I imagine, several times over the last 20 years, but there used to be on I-65 between Harding Place and Brentwood, there was a big old thing made out of fiberglass or something of forest.
Nathan Bedford Forest.
Yeah,
it was still. It was actually still up when I moved here in December of 2021.
Yeah, well, I didn't remember exactly when it went down, but it hadn't been long. Well, that's about it. I didn't know whether you knew anything about the Columbia stuff, but I think there's quite a bit of stuff going on with the Ku Klux Klan in Columbia earlier in the 20th century.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, no one. And thank you, Joe, for the call, and thank you for turning that radio down. It would have confused folks. No one is trying to get back to those days, obviously, and I do believe that the reaction by some to this is a response to some of that happened so many years ago. 1:33 on Super Talk. We'll turn our attention to Joe Biden, Christopher Wray, and some other national politics with our friend Cameron Smith, who's spending the hour with us. It's the Murphy Show on Super Talk. Defense Systems is a life safety and security consultation firm based right here in Middle Tennessee. You've heard me I've had many conversations on air with Brink Fiddler, the owner of Defense Systems. What does Defense Systems do? Well, if you're a decision maker in a place of business or in a school setting or a church setting, really anywhere that people gather, you need to call Brink today or email him and have a sit-down telephone or in-person consultation. He will talk to you about the training and the knowledge that they impart to your employees, to your groups of people, about active shooter response, workplace violence. They'll do site surveys and threat assessments. They will offer security improvement consultation, emergency and intruder action plans, rapid response medical training, all customized for your facility. Hope is not a plan. I've been saying that for a long time. Hope's not a plan. It's time to get trained in a dangerous world. Contact Brink Fiddler at 615-236-6484, 236-6484, or defensesystems.com, defensesystems.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Matt Murphy Show continues, 1:38. Happy to be with you. Thank you for being with us. I invite you to be with us July 26th as we make our way to Hendersonville, Tennessee, to the J Street Korean Grill and Bar. That's happening the evening of the 26th. Dan Mandis shall be there. Matt Murphy shall be there. I encourage you to be there. Brian Wilson will be there. Our brand new 9 to noon host, Chris Hand, will be there. Pamela Furr, Johnny B. You want to come, Cameron? You're welcome.
I have to check with Justine.
J Street Korean Grill and Bar. Have you heard the promo where I go, Korean?
Yes, I have. I was wondering what was going on there.
Dan Mandis made me do it.
So my boys love Korean. Love it.
What is it, like barbecue?
So it's got Asian. It's kind of just different, right? It's not Chinese. It's not Japanese. It's not what you're used
Korean.
to. It's Korean. And there's a great Korean fried chicken place, and that is really amazing.
What's different about the Korean fried chicken from regular fried chicken?
It's maybe a little crunchier.
Ooh.
But I really like
I'm all in on
crunchy. Yeah. There's a place in Brentwood that
Is Publix Korean? Because that's crunchy chicken.
I don't think so.
I mean, I
think it's Floridian.
I mean, is Publix not the best fried chicken going?
It's shockingly good. It's on the list of things I want not to like.
Incredibly good.
But it's really good.
I mean, I want my favorite fried chicken to be from a local chicken place.
Right.
Right? That's what you want.
Yeah.
And it's not.
It's Publix.
My favorite fried chicken is from Publix.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it's close.
Well, my family ate a lot of Kentucky Fried Chicken growing up, but I've been there and it has waned as far as a place I want to be.
We would get the extra crispy with the KFC, and it was good, but Publix is better.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they're doing to those chickens. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But there are some Dolly Parton chickens in the world.
Yeah. Those are drugs.
I mean, those are breasts.
They are big.
And they're huge.
I'm telling you, this Korean fried chicken, we'll have to do it. It's good.
So come out and check with the wife and come out to J Street Korean. And you can find tickets at 997WTN.com. It's 997WTN.com. I was amused recently at the reaction because there was an article that said that I don't know what they are, medical biologists. What the hell are they? Food people? The people that are creating the meat in the labs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And they've already done the Impossible Burger.
Have you had one of those?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think?
I thought it was pretty good.
Sure.
I had one from Burger King, and I do not know that if you had sat it in front of me and just said, hey, it's a Whopper,
you got to tell the difference.
I don't know that I could have told the difference. But when they came out with the possibility of chicken breasts, most in our audience kind of went, ew, no, what are you talking, lab-grown chicken? And I'm thinking, I think we're whistling a little past the graveyard on this. I mean, we've gotten to the point where the turkeys can't mate themselves. Domesticated turkeys cannot mate because all of their body parts are too big to make the other parts fit together. Right. And so they have to artificially inseminate the turkeys so that you and I can enjoy that big honking turkey breast.
Right.
And that overstuffed turkey on Thanksgiving.
At first I was anti this stuff. I was like, it's unnatural. But now I'm like, whatever.
Well, I mean, you think bananas look like that in real life?
It's going to be really funny when they take like chicken, grind it up into powder, and then use that to make the chicken. Because that would be a chicken nugget.
Soylent Green is people. That's all I know. And Charlton Heston knew it way back.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean,
tasty and delicious, but people.
McDonald's has been engineering flavors for a very long time, and they're delicious. And you look at it, and you're like, "This is not going to taste good." Then you're like, "Oh wow!"
I just find it interesting sometimes in the work that we do, the hill that people will die on, and some that they won't. Like you say, they'll go to McDonald's and they'll get their kids chicken nuggets, which starts out as pink goo, resembles no part of a chicken that I've ever seen.
Right.
And that's okay. But then you say, hey, the scientists are figuring out this lab-grown meat that they make from, cells. And then they're, nope, I'm out. If it's not natural, I'm not doing it. And I'm like, well, then you better.
The Impossible Burger at Burger King was my favorite because they were like, there's no real meat in there. And I'm like, really? That's what you're going to go with? Oh, the classy protein that's been on the burgers forever. Oh, you actually thought that this was mostly not just leftover parts? Like, okay, cool.
Ann says they do powdered eggs already. So,
okay.
Thank you, Ann, for the participation. Joe Biden is at a high-stakes summit. High-stakes summit.
I did not say that. That's not. I did not say that.
Do you know what is high stakes about this NATO summit?
Are we talking about
I'm not trying to be flip.
Ukraine's ascendancy into NATO, I guess.
Is that what it is? That they're deciding on Sweden and Ukraine?
Yeah.
But Joe Biden pretty much declared the one sensible thing that Joe Biden recently said, he stated it and all the liberals went nuts. No, of course we can't let Ukraine in NATO while they're at war with Russia, because if we do that, the charter says that we are then at war with Russia. It's like the one thing Joe Biden has said over the last 3 years that I thought, oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. I thought the same thing. I was like, okay.
All right, Joe. Somebody handed you something that made sense.
The moment that the shooting stops, have them in NATO. Okay, that works.
I don't know what the importance of NATO is to begin with. And I admit that I have a gap of knowledge regarding our foreign policy in that arena. Like, I don't know I guess the NATO alliance protects Europe from, the bad people.
Well,
like the Red Chinese or the Russians.
And Europe protects us. And so I think that's something to remember. We are very well situated in that, one, no one's afraid of the Canadians. And two, anything south of us, we feel pretty good about that too. And then we got two oceans. So it kind of makes it easy to feel like we're totally safe. I like the idea of, hey, we're similarly aligned in our values. Not exactly, and we've talked about that, but particularly Ukraine is a buffer with Russia that we know doesn't have our values. I think that's a good idea to have them in NATO and to have a vested interest in Ukraine. I know some folks disagree with that sentiment, but a little bit of buffer with Japan and folks on the other side and Europe on that side makes me feel a little better.
I mean, the question becomes then, how much of our money are we willing to spend to get Ukraine into NATO? If Ukraine has to win the war before they can get into NATO, how much money are we willing to give Ukraine, money and arms to give Ukraine in order to make that happen?
This is the dumb thing about all of this. We picked, and I've long said, give me the game plan here, because we picked the most costly, inefficient way to support Ukraine. It's like, well, we're going to give you sort of B-list munitions and stuff and kind of bleed it to you over time. I wonder who benefits from that. Maybe the military-industrial complex, whereas we had just said, hey, Putin, here's your deadline when you must leave. Leave.
Joe Biden said the quiet part out loud. He told what's-his-name on #NeverCNN, well, we have to give them cluster munitions because we're almost out of our other munitions.
That seems weird.
It seems weird, A, that you would admit that in a way where your people that don't like us very much can hear it. Secondarily, I mean, the underlying outcome of that is the military-industrial complex is going to make a buku amount of money restocking and resupplying our munitions, most of which we have recently given to Ukraine.
Well, and not most, but the point is,
a lot of it.
The point is, I agree with you insofar as, tell me the plan, right? This was a way to get us just kind of, and I want to be careful how I say this, because I know Vietnam brings out a lot of strong opinions, but this sort of like halfway.
It's exactly what happened in Vietnam.
It's like, make up your mind. Either win and say, bah.
We're half pregnant.
Yes. And
but the Democrats knew that there would be no American appetite if their president of the United States said, look, we're going to send some troops over there. We're going to take care of this. This is nonsense. We're going to help the Ukrainians get that. I would have more respect for that position than this one.
Yeah, but I don't even think we need troops necessarily on the ground. Like, they got plenty of people on the ground. They need air support and other things like that. We can do that with drones. I mean, our military versus Russia's, it's not a close contest. And our concern, if you'll remember, when this whole thing started was, the Chinese aren't going to come in and rescue Russia. They want Russia to be a patsy state.
Well, my issue all along has been the slow creep toward war.
Yeah.
And the drip, drip, drip of, hey, we're not going to do this. And then 3 months ago we do it. Or 3 months later we do it. And then, well, we're not going to do that. And then 3 months later we do it. Well, we're not going to do that. And, there's a cutoff of it. There's no cutoff. We just regularly give billions and billions and billions of dollars. There's no accountability to what that money's actually being used for. And we're no closer to any sort of stated objective than we were 8 months ago.
Yeah, and I got accused of, well, you're just a warmonger. For me to be like,
you are.
Rip the Band-Aid off, man. Like, don't drag it out. Don't create a situation where you end up in the same place. If you had just said, here's your deadline, this is the geographic line, leave, or we're going to remove your assets.
I think you and I have opinions about all of this that are 180 degrees separated from one another, but we agree on what's going on right now.
Yes, we have picked the worst path.
Right. I mean, my path would be get the hell out of there. Your path would be let's get it done so we can get the hell out of there.
Right.
But right now we're just languishing, and every 3 weeks we announce another X amount of money, and you add to all of this. And I know that they're not directly correlated or related, but it adds to the suspicion that the American people have about the Biden presidency. All of this Russian the Ukrainian nonsense that went on with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, and all of this ethics probe that is currently going on. I mean, there's smoke that goes on, and it just. I can't put my finger on it, but it makes people suspicious as to why we're sending so much money to Ukraine. And I understand that the Ukrainians have no interest in being at war with Russia, and they did not cause that. But one wonders if it affects the decision-making on the part of the United States president.
Yeah, and I think that that, to me, is such a tragedy for American influence abroad that it's like, do we really? And the people are sort of like, I don't know. The fact is, Joe Biden, I don't think he's capable of delivering the clarity that we need here, and certainly not the leadership to get Republicans and Democrats on the same page in either direction, right? It's reasonable to take your path, which is like, let's get out of here, not mess with it. I disagree with it, but my option's reasonable too. It's, hey, we need to get out of here.
Yeah, and I might disagree with that, but I would believe that would be more effective in achieving an outcome than this.
That we're just going to get tangled and drug into this, and then we're going to end up in a bad place, and we're not going to. We're going to end up with another worse Afghanistan because we're not going to have an exit strategy.
Democrats don't do anything well. They really don't. They don't do anything well, except maybe raise money off the backs of stupid people. Speaking of clarity when it comes to politics, I will ask Cameron Smith his opinion on Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville next. USS stands for United Structural Systems, and I like to say when I converse with you about USS that you don't want to call them. You do not want to call USS, but sometimes you have to do those things you don't want to do because whistling past the graveyard is not an option. Friends, I don't want you to have to call them either, but if you have some of the telltale signs of foundation issues at your home or some of the telltale signs of waterproofing at your home, if you have poor drainage, if you smell musty odors in your basement or crawl space, if you find that you have non-compacted soils or poor drainage or extreme moisture, maybe your walls are bowing or your drywall is separating. If these are issues that you're seeing, I promise you it's not going away. You need to call USS. Call the best. Call USS. They are your foundation experts, your waterproofing experts. They do concrete leveling better than anyone I've seen, and they've been doing it since 1994. Over 25,000 voices will tell you that they're satisfied customers, and I want you to be the next one if you have to. You don't do this because you want to, because you need to. Call today. USS. Call the best. USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com. 615-488-7855. 488-7855. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, a couple of additional moments with our man Cameron Smith, and we've got another hour to go after that. I'm excited about it. We hand off to the drive with Brian Wilson after then, and he's here till 7 o'clock tonight. He hands off to Mark Levin. Before you know it, it's Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis, and it's Thursday.
Wow.
And we're out of time.
Yep.
Friday Eve.
Shut up.
I'm headed back down south.
Tommy Tuberville?
Yeah, foot and mouth disease. Good senator. Just distractions.
Yeah, it begs the question, why would you better be ready to go on a CNN if you're going on a CNN because of CNN doing CNN things.
Yeah, that Marsha Blackburn coming on this show, fine, because it's a friendly conversation. CNN, right. Come on.
I get it. Cameron, thank you.
Thank you, man.
For everything you do on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, for everything you do at the Tennessean and Conservative Corner. We appreciate you. There he is. One more hour to go. We're back after this. Here comes the news with the one and only Mac Morey on Super Talk.
It's 2 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. A little extra hot today. Right now, 93 degrees in Nashville. And those storms expected to hold off until tomorrow night. Complete weather forecast 5 minutes away. Right now in Middle Tennessee, Channel 4 reports that Camila Hurtado Campos, the Franklin soccer coach that was accused of drugging and raping children on video for over 20 years, entered this country illegally. These terrible alleged acts were discovered by restaurant workers at a local pizza shop when Campos left his phone there. The Department of Homeland Security is now involved in the case. Staying here in Middle Tennessee, Channel 4's Ryan Breslin says police in Columbia have released surveillance video of racist flyers being posted targeting historically black churches.
Pastor Kenny Anderson says he and dozens of church members are worried about their safety, but sadly not shocked.
More hurt than surprised, because we're living in a season of madness, letting hate build up in you so much to where you want to be divisive all the time.
Bethel Chapel AME Church and Faith United Missionary Baptist Church also had flyers glued onto their marquees. They will be joining Pastor Anderson tonight, standing against hatred.
And if you have any information, you're asked to contact the Columbia Police Department. President Joe Biden today at the second day of the NATO summit, yesterday agreeing in a long-term range plan for Ukraine's NATO membership and pledging financial and security assistance to the country until that happens. Mary Alice Parks tells us the question of the timing of this plan remains uncertain.
That's what President Biden was trying to figure out, how to weave that balance between giving commitments that someday Ukraine will definitely be a member state, but avoiding the pressure of a certain timeline. The president earlier today joking, almost sarcastic with reporters that said, but just when, how fast after the war ends will Ukraine be able to say that they are a full-fledged member? And the president not wanting to engage on those questions, brushing them off, because that is a tough sticking point.
And back in the States, the nation's first craft brewery is shutting down after 127 years. Alex Stone reports from California.
Anchor Brewing Company is part of San Francisco's history, with roots dating back to the California Gold Rush, but facing economic challenges and declining sales since 2016. Its sales have been focused on bars and tap rooms, and the pandemic severely limited those sales. Anchor Brewing spokesman Sam Singer.
This is a sad day for the Anchor employees, for the brewery.
Brewing has stopped, but crews are still packaging and distributing beer on hand, likely to last until the end of the month.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN, final hour of the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk, episode 374, 615-737-9986. If you would like to be a part of the show, 615-737-9986.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes, you may.
I wish that the camera had been panned over a little bit to that side of the room, because I love how the intro is playing. And you're just sort of standing in the doorway, finishing your conversation, licking the lid on your sippy cup.
Yeah.
Just so casual, not at all worried that, and then you sit down and boom, right into it. Without missing a beat.
I mean, I've been doing it for a minute.
I know.
You know? A minute. Oh, no. And then there's me spilling sippy cup stuff all over my laptop computer. That's not good. Well, we're here on Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. You may join us on the TV side of things. You can see the whiteboard. What we have here is a failure to communicate. Speaking of a failure to communicate, what song? What are you talking about?
Civil War by Guns N' Roses.
That's
not where that's from?
I'm
just kidding.
You're just trying to get a rise out of me.
Yeah.
That is the famous line from Strother Martin in the equally famous feature film Cool Hand Luke, which is one of my favorite films.
He was in this absolutely terrible movie from the 70s that Dirk Benedict was in, where he played a mad scientist that turned Dirk into a king cobra.
What?
It was just called...
Am I having a fever dream right now? What are we talking about?
About what's from
Strother Martin?
Yeah. It was a terrible movie. Scared the hell out of me as a kid.
Well, Cool Hand Luke was a slightly better film. Although I've discovered over the years that not a chick flick. And you know what? Right now,
what would you think it was?
Well, I mean, women. It's a great movie, but guys will go into it. They'll watch the movie and they'll think that's a great movie. Women will see the exact same movie and they're like, no, thank you. I don't know what, but I don't know specifically what it is about the movie that guys like so much and that women don't. They just don't.
It's like guys saying that Die Hard's a Christmas movie and women saying it's not.
I suppose.
Okay.
I mean, Die Hard's obviously a Christmas movie. It's set on. I mean, it's at a Christmas party.
Yeah.
On Christmas Eve. Isn't it on Christmas Eve?
Yeah, I'm almost positive it's on Christmas
I know
Eve.
it's at a Christmas party. I've always assumed it was at Christmas. Is it Christmas Eve? Mac Maury says yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Mac Maury, I won't ask if you've seen it. Have you heard of the movie Cool Hand Luke?
No.
Okay.
It's Christmas Eve.
No. All good. Thank you, Bell. All good. I'm going to back up one then. You ready?
Okay.
Have you heard of the actor Paul Newman?
Yes.
Okay. He was in a movie in 1967, I want to say it was, called Cool Hand Luke, about an individual that gets put into a prison camp for cutting the heads off of parking meters. And it is a fabulous movie. And I would encourage you, I mean, there's a lot of great actors in it. George Kennedy won the Best Supporting Actor Academy Award for his portrayal of Dragline. You got Strother Martin in there as the captain of the prison camp. You got a young Dennis Hopper is in it. Oh, a lot of great actors, but fabulous movie. And that is where my quote is from.
Yeah, that line became kind of infamous because his character is such literally a slave driver.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it became a symbol for the unrest in the late 1960s, right? And it was the disparity between the older generation and the younger generation, and what we have here is failure to communicate. We're talking past one another, and I feel like we're doing that more than ever nowadays.
But I'm the boss here, so what I say is going to happen.
Right. This is the way he wants it. Well, he gets it. That's what he's strapping him. He put on his leg irons because he got ran. And then there's the safety pin scene involving Lucille, but enough about that. 615-737-9986. 4859 says Die Hard has to be a Christmas movie. This was my office Christmas decoration a few years ago, and he offers me, that's pretty good. It's a Christmas decoration of Bruce Willis dragging himself through the air vents. Let's go to the coast, have a few laughs. Die Hard was released in July, said Scott, but so was The Miracle on 34th Street. And it's definitely, a lot of people believe that it is definitely a Christmas movie. If you've never heard of Cool Hand Luke, do yourself a favor and watch a little bit of Cool Hand Luke and get mad at them damn eggs. Speaking of a failure to communicate, a trans woman has won Miss Universe Netherlands. If you do not believe, and I understand, I guess I can understand the mentality for those individuals that 5 or 6 or 8 years ago felt like some of this transgender nonsense was a one-off, why they would believe that. But I can tell you it's not a one-off, and it's growing astronomically. As I mentioned yesterday, if you look statistically at the number of youngsters between the ages of 17 and 25 that identify as gay, homosexual, either male or female, those numbers have not moved appreciably in the last 20 years. The number of individuals defining themselves as transgender or non-binary has gone up exponentially over the last 20 years. And no amount of explaining that this is just because people are more comfortable in their own skin and more comfortable to self-identify as they self-identify, that does not explain the change in these numbers. It is not only a matter of gender dysphoria, which in some cases I understand that. It is more a matter of social grooming and cultural grooming. Nowadays, 16, 17, 18-year-olds want to seem or be different. And one of the ways that they do that is claim to identify differently than you or than me. And sadly, what culture has done to not only accept that you are who you are and you can act in a fashion of your choosing in the United States of America, certainly, or even around the world, it's not a matter of that. It's not a matter of others accepting this person for who they are. The individuals involved are now demanding that we not only accept who they claim to be, but we accept it as a biological fact. I saw a video last night, and I wish I'd posted it. I'll try to find it and post it on my social media, where an interviewer went to New York City. Columbia University is in New York City, and they went on the campus of Columbia University, and then they went to Harlem in New York City, and they asked the same question: can a man give birth? That was the question. How do you think that question was answered on the campus of Columbia University? Over and over and over and over again, we heard the same answer. Well, if a person identifies as a man and they have the genitalia necessary to have a child, then yes. Over and over and over again. Well, if they identify. Each of these individuals ignoring the obvious that if you are born a woman, then that is not a man giving birth to a child, and it doesn't matter what they think of themselves. Biologically, they are females. And this is the big lie being told to our youngsters. And the big lie continues to grow on a regular basis. Maybe not in your household, and maybe not in my household, but in far too many households, and certainly on college campuses. And on college campuses like Columbia, you do not dare think differently. Otherwise, you're immediately labeled as some sort of phobic or some sort of ist or a TERF, as you would be called. For identifying basic biology, you're called a hater. On the campus of Columbia, over and over again, can a man give birth to a child? Well, if they identify as a man and if they have the uterus and the ovary, then blah, blah, blah. I'm not asking you if somebody wants to be a man. A man. with testicles. Then the interviewer said, let's go to Harlem. And let me tell you, the wisdom of the street came out because it was a bunch of, oh, hell no. That isn't possible. Setting aside our genuine concern for those who are mentally disrupted with their gender dysphoria, this is a growing concept within popular culture that needs to be smacked down. And instead, it's embraced. To wit, and this brings me to the story I wanted to tell you about. A transgender contestant for Miss Universe Netherlands won the competition in a historic first for the country this past Saturday. The winner was a 22-year-old model and actress by the name of Ricky Valerie Colley. I'm assuming that's how to pronounce the last name. It's Colle, and I don't really care. Ricky will now compete in the Miss Universe pageant slated to take place in El Salvador. Colley responded on Instagram, I did it. It's unreal, but I get to call myself Miss Netherlands 2023. It was an educational and beautiful journey. I'm so happy that I can't even describe it. Making my community proud and showing that it can be done. Over and over and over again, you are seeing biological males take over in what we would consider to be exclusively women's competitions under the auspices that they identify as a woman, therefore they must be treated like a woman. And we are regularly ceding ground to these people. And by extension, we're ceding ground to basic sanity and basic biology. And I just note that it's not stopping and it's not even close, despite our best efforts. I understand someone believing that they were born in the wrong body. I can get that. I get that gender dysphoria exists. But that's not what we're dealing with anymore. We're dealing with a popular culture phenomenon that dictates for young people of a very impressionable age, 14, 15, 16 years of age, that anything they want to be, they get to be. Do you understand how dangerous psychologically that is? That you are instructed by the actions of popular culture around you and by the actions of your peer groups that anything you want to be, you get to be. Nobody gets told no anymore. Nobody has their feelings put into check anymore. Anything you want to be, you get to be. Well, I want to be a goldfish. I want to be a furry. I want to be a woman. I want to be a this. I want to be a that. Oh, yeah, you get to be all those things. And it just isn't true. There was a time where I would say reality will put these people back into line, and I don't know that that's the case anymore. In the meantime, Christopher Wray is testifying before the Oversight Committee in the House of Representatives, talking about classified documents and the like. Not saying a tremendous amount of note, but we'll cover it for you in just a moment. 615-737-9986 as we continue. In Los Angeles, it is permissible to poop on the street, but not to display an American flag. I'll tell you the story next on Super Talk. You know, I've mentioned to you my weight loss journey and the fact that I have lost a few pounds over the last several weeks. Well, that in mind, I'll tell you, I don't know what I would do without Savory Spice. Holly and David operate Savory Spice, 2 locations to serve you, one in Franklin, the other in Nashville on Charlotte Pike, and I'll tell you more about those locations in just a moment. And what I mean by this is, you know, sometimes losing weight I'm not saying it's necessarily hard. I'm not saying that I'm necessarily hungry, but it can be a little bland. And Savory Spice has the ability to spice up some of these foods, particularly some of these veggies that I'm consuming, in a way that make them so good, so palatable, food that I want to eat, not food that I have to eat. It's all right there at Savory Spice. Now, they have premixes. I love this. Whether it's the Sunday pot roast that I talk about so much or any other item that you might imagine, they have the spices premixed for you, and it's so easy. So if you're not a cook, you can cook this. Thank you to Savory Spice. They got popcorn sprinkle. They get all the salts you can shake a stick at. They get all the spices, and they are the freshest of the fresh. Go to Savory Spice on Charlotte Pike and L&L Market. Go to Savory Spice in Franklin right off the square and tell them that Matt Murphy sent you. And thank Holly and David for what they do locally for their community and the deliciousness that is Savory Spice.
An update on the disgraced former Franklin soccer coach, FBI Director Christopher Wray testifying today, and day number 2 of Amazon Prime Day. That and more coming up 30 minutes after the hour of 2 o'clock right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, boy. You too? You're doing this too? What are you doing there?
I mean, you spend the morning with Cameron Smith. You're
getting paid
going to know about Amazon
getting
Prime
paid
Day.
on the side? Something? You an Amazon customer there, McMurray?
Me and Bezos speak from time to time, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Bel K? Work a little Amazon from time to time or no? Or maybe he's not just he's not even working. He's not listening to me.
He's quiet quitting on you, Matt.
What's he doing? What? Just look over his shoulder and see what he's doing in there. Oh, he's talking to somebody on the phone.
He's talking.
Uh-huh. Got caught, too. 615-737-9986. If you hate Bel K as much as I do, give me a call. As a matter of fact, since he's not listening to the show right now, just 615-737-9986. It'll baffle him, it'll confuse him, and it'll annoy him because he's on the phone with somebody. I bet it's our boss. How much
I bet
it
is too. No,
I bet it's the boss.
It really
They're
is.
talking about clocks. They're talking about setting Chris Hand's coming in on Monday. They're
Lots
excited
to do.
Everybody excited about that. They're talking about getting that ready and making him feel a warm welcome. Not that was the case with me. When I came in,
Hey, I let you take me to breakfast. You shut up.
That's true. That's when I knew you were a weirdo. You ordered. I
did.
You ordered 5 scrambled eggs and a double order of bacon.
Yep,
I think that's
that
correct.
was it.
No way.
No hash browns, no toast.
And he told the lady, if there's grits on my plate, I won't eat it. I think he said it that way too.
I won't eat it.
Well, you were doing like a high fat, high carb. That didn't work out.
Low
carb. That didn't work out. You didn't lose weight.
I didn't.
But now you're losing weight.
Because I kept drinking.
I
haven't had a drink since March.
I found it's not the drinking so much; it's the aftermath of the drinking that gets you. It's the
it's like we were talking about. It's not the booze; it's the bad decisions that go with the booze.
Right. It's not a couple of double vodka and tonics that'll kill you. It's the fact that you're standing in your kitchen at 1 o'clock in the morning making breakfast.
or putting a pizza in the oven.
This is a great idea. I'll feel great about myself in the morning. Do you Amazon, Belkay, was the question.
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
I have Prime, and mostly for the video content and the music content, but I absolutely use it for stuff I need to order.
Love it. Love Amazon Prime. Love everything about it. I understand that Bezos has taken over the world, but my goodness gracious, when he can do something as effectively as he can do this, I mean, you got to tip your hat to the guy.
Better mousetrap.
Would you go to, I don't understand, and maybe this is just the old man sitting on the front porch not understanding what the kids are doing these days, but the appeal to Amazon Prime Day is that they put a lot of things on sale at the same time. Is that the easiest way to put it?
Yes.
But this is not stuff that I want.
And it's also stuff that's at the percentage is significantly higher than the normal sales would be.
Wait, what?
Like I needed a new keyboard for my computer at home. And the one I wanted was $70. Well, I'm not paying $70 for a keyboard.
Right.
And the lowest I had seen it come down to, I think, was $72. It was $79, and it came down to $72. I bought it yesterday because it was on sale for $49.
You bought a $49 keyboard?
Yes.
Does it massage your feet while you use it? What is it?
No, I've got a foot massager for that. What are you talking about?
Is it type for you? I mean, what?
It's backlit. It's and it's got.
Are you a gamer? You are a gamer.
I like some games.
Never mind. I withdraw the question.
Thank you.
I felt like an idiot right as I said it. I mean, what else is he doing with his cats in his room?
Andy Griffith's reruns.
Well, those are pretty good too.
Though I was going to bring this up to you. The more I watch Andy Griffith, the more I realize that even in Mayberry, you can have a big government totalitarian running the show.
You talking about the mayor?
Oh, I'm talking about Andy.
Yeah, Andy was a benevolent dictator.
Yeah.
But he was a dictator nonetheless.
Yeah.
Like we've said in the past.
Like that episode where the guy has like the go-go dancer or something, and he's like, she needs to tone down that ending part just a little bit.
Some of the Fun Girls?
No, it was that one where
Hello, doll.
No, it wasn't them. It was this. It was the episode that Dick Van Dyke's brother was on, Jerry Van Dyke.
Okay,
and
I'm with you.
He was complaining. Andy was complaining to the manager about the gyrating that the dancing girl was doing, and he basically said, "You will tone it down, or you will move on."
Ooh, well, there you go. There's a little totalitarian cabal there in Mayberry.
Yeah.
Based on, I've always wanted to go to Mount Airy, North Carolina.
Is that in North Carolina?
That's where Andy Griffith was from.
But they shot in L.A.
Right? Or something. Yeah. Mayberry was a made-up town, but it was loosely based on his hometown of Mount Airy. Now Mount Airy has kind of taken on that mantle, and they've restructured some of their downtown to present the police station, and I think they have a Floyd's barber shop and that sort of thing. So, yeah. Better times back there in maybe. What? You're just over your head?
Over my head.
Have you ever seen a full episode of Andy Griffith?
Nope.
I really think you need to start giving the boys some homework.
I'm beginning to understand how my elders felt about me when I was a youngster. They would ask, have you never seen one performance of Count Basie?
Have you ever seen an original episode of the original Star Trek?
Yes, I believe I have.
I believe I have.
I'm pretty sure. Well, there's like 6 different. I mean, come on.
That's why I said the original series.
I believe I have. Yes.
With William Shatner playing Captain Kirk.
You know, I hesitate.
What's his name is Spock?
Yes.
Yes.
What's his name? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
With the pointy ears. But see, I hesitate to do this, Smack more, because every time we have this conversation, I feel like we have a tone in our voice that is unfair. Because everyone is a product of their own generation. And rare is the subject that will go back that number of years and kind of fill in all of those gaps. I mean, and you can't possibly fill them all in. So never believe that we're besmirching your good name or character. No. I mean, we are, but I don't want you to believe that.
Looking it up now.
That shouldn't be your go-to thought.
You know what? I'll tell you what. We can do homework more, and we can make this a part of the Friday Mac Attack.
Oh, I love it.
We can set some parameters. We can figure it out where I give you a little homework and you give me a little homework. Like my homework would involve you watching an episode of Andy Griffith, and your homework would, I don't know, involve me listening to some trash, garbage, modern music or something or another. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm down.
Very
That's great.
equitable on his part, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
I will suffer if it means that you become more cultured as a result. I'm willing to do that for you.
I'll do that.
All right, we'll think on it, and maybe by Friday I'll have something. It might not be Andy Griffith this time around, but I'll have something that I think would be a good like Gilligan's Island. You ever seen Gilligan's Island?
I know more about it, but no, not seen it.
Do not watch a single episode of Gilligan's Island. Because I realized something during the 4th of July Gilligan's Island marathon that my wife insisted keeping on a television running on a loop for 24 hours a day, is that Gilligan's Island, every one of you, listen to me now, is trash.
Terrible show.
It is awful.
You have to be 7 years old to have any appreciation for it.
It is garbage. Garbage.
The production, the writing.
The premise.
Okay.
Yes, all of it's garbage. Like in episode 2, people are landing on the island in boats, and they can't get off the island. They're stranded on the island. No, don't get me started. It's 2:32.
That should have been a Saturday morning live action show, and that should have been it.
Yes, the original Batman series is trash too, Steve. I appreciate you believing in that. It is 2:32 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.233, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 93 degrees, steamy day in Nashville. Expected to stay dry tonight with storms holding off until tomorrow. Full weather forecast in just a couple minutes. An update on a disgraced former Franklin soccer coach. Channel 4 reports that Camila Hurtado Campos entered the United States illegally. It was at a pizza place where a restaurant worker discovered Campos's forgotten phone and saw videos of him raping drugged children. This has been going on now for over 20 years. The Department of Homeland Security is involved in the case. FBI Director Christopher Wray has been testifying before the Republican-led House Judiciary Committee, which has accused the agency of weaponizing its power against conservatives and Republican figures like former President Donald Trump. Faith Abube is in Washington with the latest.
On the FBI search of Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in August 2022, the FBI director says his agents acted lawfully to retrieve classified material from the former president's home.
I would not call it a raid. I would call it the execution of a lawful search warrant.
Director Wray also pushed back after Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz asked whether he was protecting the Biden family in the DOJ's criminal probe.
Absolutely not. The FBI does not and has no interest in protecting anyone about whether or not that's...
And it's day 2 of Amazon Prime Day. Some data is flowing in on what people have been buying and how much they've been spending. Alex Stone.
The average Prime Day shopper is spending just shy of $57, according to analysis from the data research company Numerator. That's up from $53 a year ago. The average household is spending about $134 this year. Among the top 5 items sold so far, Temptations cat treats, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Liquid IV hydration packets, Apple Watch Series 8, and Melissa and Doug toys. The typical shopper taking part, Numerator says, is a high-income suburban female, 35 to 44 years old, who also reports wanting to take advantage of summer sales at Target, Walmart, and Costco.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Friends, more and more in our modern society in 2023, it is so important that you spend your money to organizations and with organizations that you believe in. Because sadly, a lot of the organizations that you're spending money with, they believe in policies. They believe in politics that you don't. And as you spend the money with them, they use that money to promote almost what is a parallel economy to the economy that you believe in. And with this in mind, I want to talk to you about Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They offer incredible and dependable nationwide coverage on all three major networks. Patriot Mobile helps eliminate as much of the woke politics as they possibly can. And when you speak and switch to a Patriot Mobile representative, they're going to talk to you about the message that you're sending with free speech, religious freedom, sanctity of life, Second Amendment, military veterans, and first responder heroes, all of that. 100% U.S.-based customer service team makes it so easy to switch. You keep your phone, you keep your phone number, you're switching providers, you're keeping the same incredible coverage, you're just eliminating the woke politics. Get free activation with your offer code Murphy, M-U-R-P-H-Y. Call today. I can't impress upon this enough that we are seeing these parallel economies grow further and further apart, and I want you to be a part of growing a company that believes in American values. Patriot Mobile. Go to patriotmobile.com/Murphy or 878-PATRIOT, 878-PATRIOT. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Still time enough for you to join us if you'd like to join in on the conversation, either via super text or on the phones. Open phone lines right now, 615-737-9986. I'll fight you on the issue of Gilligan's Island. I don't have a problem with that. And I'm getting a lot of pushback on the issue of Gilligan's Island. More on that in just a moment.
I figured you would.
I mean, it's
kind of a hot take.
You are 100% correct.
It's a trash show. And there's no good. It's a trash show.
And somebody on the text line said, that's my childhood. Well, you have to be a child to enjoy it.
I enjoyed it when I was a kid, too. I mean, I didn't question. Well, okay, so let's just catch McMurray up. I have Joe Biden to talk about in a moment, and I have something else to say about transgender athletes, but I'm going to suspend that for this very important topic. So the premise of Gilligan's Island was presented in the opening theme song. Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started on this tropic shore aboard this tiny ship. The mate was a Miley sailing man, the skipper brave and sure. 5 passengers set sail that day for a 3-hour tour. A 3-hour tour.
He was
I can't believe I
apparently
can
a
remember
good
this.
captain, but a horrible host.
Skipper. The weather started getting rough. The tiny ship was tossed. If not for the courage of the fearless crew, the minnow would be lost. The ship set ground. The ship set ground on the shore of this uncharted desert isle with Gilligan, the skipper too, the millionaire and his wife. And then in the opening year, it said, and the rest, and there were only 2 left. But then eventually they got to the professor and Marianne. There was a movie star in there, too. So the premise is they were all on a little boat sailing around the tropical islands of Hawaii, one presumed, on a 3-hour tour. Now, the millionaire, Thurston Howell III, and his wife, Mac, took multiple changes of clothes. And, wait for it now, a trunk full of money. A trunk full of money. Is this wrong to dissect this in this way? It was watching it over the weekend, it was like, I'm shaking my head. Why did I ever find this entertaining? Like, they would regularly be visited by people that would come on the island to kind of spice things up, and then somehow these people would be whisked away by some happenstance, or Gilligan would screw something up, and they would be left on the island.
But they could still listen to radio with those coconuts.
They could listen to the radio. And the batteries, did he make new batteries? How did they keep the batteries
charged it
going?
using the bike that he built out of tree limbs, and he would ride it. Ridiculous.
I suppose that many people are listening right now and telling us that Bell, you and I, have become too curmudgeonly in order to suspend our willing suspension of disbelief.
No, if you are 7 years old and you're watching that show, it is a lot of fun. But once you hit 11, 12, or 13, it's garbage. It's garbage. Trash.
Fact check me on this. But Thurston Howell III, who was, what was the actor's
Jim
name?
Backus.
Jim Backus.
Did Mr. Magoo's voice, too.
And he was Jim Backus was the father in Rebel Without a Cause. I don't think Jim Backus was 50 years old when he did Gilligan's Island. Now, I could be wrong. He might have been in his 50s. I think Lovey, his wife, was in her 60s. But it did bring about and this is the one you have to figure out, Mac Moore, it did bring about the age-old question, Ginger or Marianne. Ginger was the sultry, redheaded movie star. Marianne was kind of, the farmer's daughter type. She was a, farm girl from Kansas or wherever she was from. And so there's been an eternal question as to Ginger or Marianne. I think there's only one correct answer in this.
I'm looking at him. Okay, what's the correct answer?
Yeah, he was in his 50s.
The correct answer is Marianne.
Yes. I am concurring with that via Google Images. Sounds terrible. Okay, I'm done. Turning my back up.
He had just reached his 50s when the show started.
He was in his early 50s?
Yeah.
And back in the day, I figured he was like 75. I don't know.
He was born in 1913.
Ginger and Marianne drop-kicked me through the goalpost of puberty, writes 1212. Bill says, check out Tina Louise in God's Little Acre. Okay, I'll try to do that. Marianne was a hot one. Marianne, getting a lot of Marianne from the listening audience. And Steve says, I Dream of Jeannie was one of my favorites. See, I think I Dream of Jeannie has aged quite well. I mean, that from the setup, I have to suspend my disbelief because we're dealing with a genie in a bottle.
Right.
He finds a genie in a bottle. So already I'm willing to go down this road with you. So whatever she blinks and creates, okay, fine, all well and good. Although I will say this. This was just before I reached the age where I discovered Dolly Parton, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But even at the tender age of like 10 years old, I'm like, I mean, she called him master. And I can't believe I'm going to admit this. Of all the things that I've admitted to on the radio over 23 years, this is the one that's going to get me in trouble. When I was a kid, I never understood. I remember actively wondering why he doesn't command her to get naked.
That would be a young voice.
She had to follow it. She had to do what he told her to do.
Well, you didn't know that he didn't. He just didn't do it when you were watching.
He didn't do it while the cameras were on?
Yeah.
Well, that sucks.
They couldn't have put that on TV anyway.
Was it Major Healy and Major Nelson?
Yeah.
And Nelson was the J.R. Ewing guy, right?
Yeah, Larry Hagman.
Larry Hagman.
And Healy was the guy who ended up did he end up with a part on Newhart?
Yes.
Was he on Newhart?
Yeah, he was on Newhart. And always a snake in the grass. Always trying to snake Jeannie away from him, snake the bottle away from him, and he was his best friend. But I just, as I was sitting here yesterday, I remember thinking, why doesn't he tell her to get naked?
I'm pretty sure he did at some point.
Well, maybe so. 615-737-9986. Back to more serious matters. I do need. So Joe Biden just left the NATO summit, the high-stakes NATO summit. And I jokingly call it that because every major media network over the last 3 days has referred to this summit as a high-stakes NATO summit. There's nothing about NATO that is high-stakes, in my estimation, and certainly nothing about this summit. You know, whether or not Sweden will be a part of NATO, whether or not Ukraine will be a part of NATO, I do not consider those to be high stakes enough for everyone to call them high stakes. But Joe Biden is just leaving. Joe Biden earlier today called, and I could have pulled the clip, but if I would have had to sit through the entire speech, and I'm not doing that. Earlier today, Joe Biden called climate change, the single greatest threat to humanity on Earth. The single greatest threat to humanity. Joe Biden, who arrived at the NATO summit in a 747 jet. Joe Biden, who left the Helsinki airport in a motorcade that had over 20 vehicles in it. Joe Biden, whose 20-vehicle motorcade came to Helsinki via gigantic cargo planes. These people, these do as they say, not as they do people, who want to treat you like Boo-Boo the Clown and suggest the single greatest threat to humanity's climate change, yet he's in a 24-car motorcade? You can't manage to cut that down to 12? I mean, I understand. You're the president of the United States. You need a level of security. I get it.
Anything under 15 is for the plebes.
But sincerely, if these people honestly believed the garbage that they're coming out with, they would do something in their own lives about it. I'm not about to be lectured by John Kerry, Lurch himself. I'm John Kerry, reporting for duty. I'm not going to be lectured by John Kerry about climate change when he flies first class everywhere he goes, if not private.
Ed Begley Jr. was one of the first, quote-unquote, climate activists out of Hollywood. And I always had a little bit of respect for him because at least he walked the walk.
I have every respect in the world for Ed Begley Jr. for the reason you just said. Ed Begley Jr. back in the late 70s, early 1980s, began to believe that if we don't do something about our rate of consumption in the world, electric and otherwise, that we're going to destroy humanity as we know it. Now, it's not come to fruition, not even close. But at least he began living his life in a manner consistent with his message. And that's called not being a hypocrite, unlike Joe Biden, who is a liar and a hypocrite. It's 2:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is coming, friends. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is almost upon us. I'm so excited. I got some of my tickets today. Oh, I was talking to Becky, and she said, yeah, you got your tickets in, and I got my tickets, and I'm going, and you're going, and I want you to be there, and I want to see you. I'll be the guy in the hat. August 4th through the 6th, the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is in town, and if you've not witnessed this, I've not seen one yet. The first 2 years, first year I was not here yet, and I wasn't here for last year's proceedings. I was out of town, so I could not be more excited about experiencing the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix with you. Tickets are on sale right now, 3-day passes or premium hospitality still available on the streets of Nashville, August 4th through the 6th. The high-speed racing is a part of it, but it's also music and food and fun. Saturday night fun with racing and a family fun zone, fan favorite with the high-flying stadium super trucks. If you've not experienced this, do it. Let's do it together. It's the party of the year, the party of the summer. Grab your tickets before they are gone at MusicCityGP.com for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Once again, get amped at MusicCityGP.com.
More information on a pedophilic Franklin soccer coach, the timeline for Ukraine joining NATO becoming a little bit more clearer day by day, and a wrong-way driver arrested in Nashville. That and more coming up at 3 o'clock right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much there, Mac Morey. That wraps up, or just about wraps up, our time for the broadcast day. Never you fear, the drive with Brian Wilson on the way. Have I told the story? This Gadsden flag that was presented by our new 9 to noon host today reminds me, did I tell you the story about it was in the back country in Tennessee, and I came upon this guy selling stuff, and he was selling a welcome mat that was the Gadsden flag. It said, "Don't tread on me." And I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen, and I bought one. And I was like, I'm just buying because of the irony. And the guy's like, What do you mean? What do you mean? I was like, well, it says, "Don't tread on me," and it's a welcome mat. Yeah? What about it? Okay, just give me my change, and I'll get out of here as soon as possible, sir. I mean, he looked at me like I was a Biden supporter. Yikes. We'll crank it up and do it again for a Thursday edition. Brian Wilson in the drive coming up next. Come see me at the Williamson County Public Library tonight, 5:30. Till then, so long.